And there's not so many shows and things like that where you can actually see yourself in it. And I think that's part of what the humanity of the show is, which works on that level. Then you have the fun music, the 80s references, the Karate Kid, the karate of it, and all that. You put it together and you have this great Cobra Kai cocktail, as everybody's having a great time. It's a party, we're having so much fun making this. We've had so much fun.
We're Miyagi-Do. We're not losing. So wipe the smirks off their ugly faces.
So, Ralph, I got to ask you right off the bat, you have one of the best action sequences that you've had in your career in this season when you fight all those guys in Barcelona. And I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about prepping for that and what it was like, because the choreography was amazing. And I find you get better and better as it goes on in the martial arts. It's really cool.
Thanks. Yeah, there were a couple of sequences. One in episode 607, I think, when I'm kind of trapped in a cage and have to fight my way out of it. That was a pretty good fight. That came out nice. And then all the big stuff at the end of this chapter of season 6. Yeah, a lot of stuff there. The stunt team is great. The more we work together, it's a dance, and the more time you have, and obviously who you're fighting with, and whether it's the stunt person or the other actor, we all take a great deal of pride in trying to, be as good as we can on the fly, because we do shoot this show very fast. I mean, it's really? Just we shoot. It's stunt-wise, it's amazing. Nobody gets hurt, but somehow we deliver in next level in this chapter right now in the middle of season 6.
And I mean, William, I have to say, I would have never thought when I had watched Karate Kid as a kid that I'd grow up to love Johnny so much that he'd become this kind of really heroic character over time. And I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit about his evolution, because I can't remember another time where a guy who started out as a somewhat two-dimensional villain ended up becoming this amazing three-dimensional kind of anti-hero turned hero.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, the seed of that was in the writing of The Karate Kid at the end when Daniel kicks him and he hands him a trophy. That's the seed of the whole thing. He was misguided. Yeah, I mean, when I signed on to this, I said, one thing I was really worried about, I was super cautious. I'm like, as long as you don't turn me into like this is the ultimate crane kick at the end and I'm gonna be the biggest jerk for all time. Because all I knew up to that point was Johnny was a villain. And to have writing serve you to where you get to play a guy who's got some bumps and who's trying to, do the right thing. There's a little bit of, there's a marriage between the writing and what I bring to it. We all have our techniques as an actor, what we do. I have my place I go, and that shows up in the middle of lines and scenes, and you just hope so it's a little bit of everything, but it feels great, to have people actually rooting for me, I mean, I spent the better part of my career being the quintessential 80s a-hole, and so to have a character that's this guy played three-dimensionally and, being heroic, it's awesome,
Just the general question for both of you. I mean, I have to say the Karate Kid, as a franchise, it's lasted for 40 years and it's going to go on probably a lot longer than that. What do you think it is about the franchise, though, that has made it stand the test of time so much and that, continues to inspire multiple generations?
Well, he knows the answer. No, not. It's because we both said this before. It works on a human level. We all connect to it. We connected to that kid back in 1984 who had no business winning anything. He became a wish fulfillment, aspirational character that overcomes the obstacles and prevails. And that's a story, that's a narrative that we all root for, no matter how dark and cynical the world is. There's still that piece of hope, and I could be that, and I could get there. I could have hopes and dreams and get there. And the guys who write the Cobra Kai series know that, and they never let go of that. And despite how big and crazy like this chapter it's about, that's coming out now is, and it holds on to that piece of us that's it's the heart and soul of what grounds us, and that the intentions are good, and we're trying to get to the other side. I think that's the secret sauce.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well, that's-
I think the same thing. I think the show it's great because it relates to so many people, and everybody could be somebody in the show. And I think when you're watching something, you want to project yourself into that character and live vicariously through them, which would happen to Karate Kid. Everybody won that tournament, And in this show, everybody's kind of stepping into the skin of different people and following that, and you get to vicariously live through that and have those feelings. And there's not so many shows and things like that where you can actually see yourself in it. And I think that's part of what the humanity of the show is, which works on that level. Then you have the fun music, the 80s references, the Karate Kid, the karate of it, and all that. You put it together and you have this great Cobra Kai cocktail. As everybody's having a good time. It's a party, we're having so much fun making this. We've had so much fun. As much fun as we have making it behind the scenes is coming back, and it's come back from the fans.
Right.
And so it's really been a two-way street. And it started from the top, from the writers through us to the crew, and so it's phenomenal. Yeah.
I have a blast watching it, so thank you very much for talking to me, guys.
Awesome,
I really
man.
appreciate it.
Thank
Such a
you.
huge fan.
Thank you.
Hey, okay, so I gotta ask, you guys are obviously 80s kids like I am, and I mean, as much as you must love the Karate Kid movies, I imagine you also probably love classic competition movies like Best of the Best and Bloodsport. And I was just wondering, was this season finally your opportunity to pay tribute to those films?
I mean, we call out all of our favorites from time to time in little ways and big ways. I mean, last season you have Gunther, yelling out Drago, so we clearly lean into our favorites, be it Jean-Claude Van Damme or and anyone from that era of the 80s into the 90s that presented the idea of martial arts as a badass weapon that can still be wielded. And we're not the only ones doing it. I mean, clearly, you see that carried forward with a lot of these one-man army stories, like the John Wicks of the universe, where there's a tremendous amount of martial arts that's effortlessly part of that universe. And that just goes to the power of that genre. There's something about it being more powerful to kick somebody in the face than to fire a gun at them.
Well, I mean, I have to say also, one of the things about the show is that I feel like one episode of Cobra Kai sometimes has more action in it than like any of the Karate Kid movies taken on their own. And it really does kind of, you guys level up every season, and I was surprised at how well like Ralph Macchio has become like a great fighter, I find, over the seasons. Whereas, when he was Daniel-san in the movies, it was a little bit different. And I was just wondering if you could talk about that and about the training that the actors go through, because it must be extensive, I would assume.
Yeah, every season of Cobra Kai is like a Karate Kid movie in terms of these actors learning new martial arts skills. So by the time you're at season 6, you have the younger actors on our show who now have been trained with the best fight choreographers now for 6 seasons, and you got Ralph Macchio and Billy Zabka who did it back in the day in the 80s, but now this show kind of brought those skills back to them, and they've gotten better. So that was the most fun part of this final season, was seeing everyone at the top of their game, and we made sure to bring in some new martial artists, both on the student side and the sensei side, just to give them something to compete against. And it was fun watching someone like Tanner Buchanan do amazing like mid-air kicks that you would have a stunt a stunt actor do. Now he does it all on his own. And you have, Billy and Ralph, who, they've been doing this for decades now, and you'd think, okay, well, they would need their stunt actors in there, but they could do so much on their own. So it really just makes this season feel like the biggest, season of fighting that the franchise has ever had.
And I got to call out, the former villains kind of turned. Well, I mean, Chosen. I really love what's happened with Chosen over the seasons. How he's become kind of this kind of really heroic character, right? And even Kreese, I find Kreese, Martin Kove, I find is getting to do some of the best acting of his career in the show. And I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit about adding some three-dimensionality to those characters, because I find both of them fare really, really well on the show.
I mean, that's what we love. We started this series by giving third dimension to Johnny Lawrence. and that was
Sure.
sort of our entry point into the show. But we've always been, fans of entertainment where we like side characters, and we're always thinking
Sure.
about what's going on in their worlds. So to have, the real estate in a series like this, to take a character like John Kreese, who was just bad, you're just evil, is all he was kind of told back in the day. But now we get to know a lot more about him. What drives him? Where's the pain? Who was his sensei? And see sort of, even at his advanced age, he's going through, life growth or regression there. For Chosen, he's one of our favorite characters as well. We were all terrified of him back in the day. And Yuji is just such a game performer. He's so badass. He's so heroic. He has a little bit of Mr. Miyagi vibes with what he brings to it now, but he's also hilarious. He's truly
Likes to
funny
party.
as hell. So everything that we're doing with him, we're able to run the gamut and do any kind of scene with Chosen, and you're going to be entertained.
Well, thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it. It's such a pleasure and such a fun time watching the show. I love it. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.